Blackwatch Report, your podcast covering all things open division and contenders, the path to pro for Overwatch League. And here are your hosts, Thorn and Kyle Wynn. And welcome back to this week's episode of the Blackwatch Report. As always, I'm Thorn, and with me is Kyle Wynn. And this week, we have a little special announcement at the top of the show. We are officially sponsored. Blackwatch Report has a new source of energy. We are now affiliates with Rogue Energy. You can find them over on Twitter at the Rogue Energy. You can break away from your normal energy and go rogue. Use promo code Blackwatch Report at checkout for 10% off of your total purchase. And with that, we're going to move down into our standard introductions. Kyle, how you doing this week?
Good. We did comp. I did my placements with you and Deadly Teddy, and I placed lower than I ever have before. So I think I'm rusty at Overwatch.
Which is a little odd because we actually did really, really well.
Yes, that was super odd. I don't even know what would have happened if I placed without getting those wins, or if that even mattered at all. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, we both kind of did same stuff this week. I mean, as far as Overwatch goes, played comp together, like Kyle said. I believe, because I had to step away for a moment, but up until the very end, we were 5-0, and then we lost 2 in a row, and we all called it quits. All right, no more, not burning this bridge.
No.
And then after that, me and Kyle sat down with the assistant coach of Envision Esports and spoke to Chu, who I believe is already in Poland. I believe he was leaving for Poland yesterday.
Right.
That should be hitting the audio feed here shortly. But if you want to watch the video, it's over on our YouTube. Just search for Blackwatch Report on YouTube. We don't have a cool link yet. But outside of that, we have another special announcement. We'll play a little audio clip, and then we will get down into our Twitch followers for the week. So we will be right back.
The hype for BlizzCon 2018 has begun, and so has our planning for this year's Con Before the Storm.
Con Before the Storm will bring together fans and content creators for all of Blizzard franchises once again at the Anaheim Hilton on November 1st.
This is the largest Blizzard community-built event, and it's made possible thanks to everyone who supports our Kickstarter campaign, which is now live at conbeforestorm.com.
Our initial funding goal is $13,500, and we're confident we can hit that goal with the community's help.
As always, we plan to include meet and greet opportunities with dozens of content creators, including artists, podcasters, Twitch streamers, esports personalities, and much more.
Returning fan favorites that are already confirmed for this year include badge artist Egg Dishes and Tepish, as well as the return of shirt and button designer Nadia Lee.
Finally, it wouldn't be Con Before the Storm without World of Podcasts, which will be celebrating its 6th-year anniversary.
However, our plans for World of Podcast have grown, as have the costs to make it a reality, and we need your help to bring World of Podcast back for its best year yet.
Get ready for a great night of podcasting content should we hit our stretch goal of $24,500.
To learn more about our plans, stretch goals, and backer rewards, go to conbeforestorm.com and follow at conbeforestorm on Twitter for ongoing updates. See you at BlizzCon!
Yes, I can hear you now.
I don't know what just happened right there. As I was saying, I don't think I was coming across right there. That was the promo for the Con Before the Storm. They've been doing it for 6 years now. Blevins was out there last year. He was one of the co-hosts on one of the panels. It's super cool if you're into podcast, if you listen to podcast, if you're a podcaster. Throw them a couple bucks, help them get to the point where they're able to have their own separate hall during the convention prior to BlizzCon. They do actually do live shows from the convention. But with that, we're going to move down into our iTunes reviews. And again, we have no iTunes reviews. Come on, people. We need some iTunes reviews. I know you're out there listening because we've got some more Twitch subs. Or I'm sorry, not subs. We're not that cool yet. We got Twitch follows. Want to say thank you to Totemly Drunk, Warhen 117, Deadly Teddy. That's who we were playing with this week, doing our placements. Good talking and playing games with you, Deadly. Politish, and none other than the man himself, Chew, the assistant coach from Envision E. And with that, that's going to take us down into the news. Kyle, take it away.
Cool. First off, we had something that we're going to talk about a little bit later, and that's the Fusion University versus X6 Gaming show match. And then there was an O2 Ardent versus Lucky Future Zenith, which is Fusion University is the NA team, X6 is from Korea, O2 Ardent is from Korea, and Lucky Future Zenith, I believe, is a Chinese team, to my knowledge.
Yes.
And so we'll talk about that in our quick play section.
And moving us right into the second bit of news here, a little bit of Overwatch Open Division. They kind of have a new system. Their old system was weird with the way that they broke ties with map wins and everything. Well, now they have a new system. It's called the Opponents Match Win Percentage. The way it works is the OMW percent is a team's OMW percent is the average match win percentage of each of their opponents at the end of the season. Buys do not count towards OMW. Opponents with an OMW percent of below 33% count as 33%. They've got a 10%. They count as 33 for your actual score. Teams that have an OMW percentage difference of 2.0% or less are considered to be tied. So it gives a little bit of gap there. I'm not going to break down the example because it's extremely long.
That paragraph.
Yeah, it's math. And we're here to talk about
Too much.
Overwatch esports, not math. So that's not it. If you want to look it up, it is over on the Overwatch, the Open Division Discord. And it will be in the show notes once the show goes to audio. This will come into play later on in the main discussion when we talk about the top 20.
Cool. And then new bit of news: we knew that Envy, former off-tank player for LA Valiant, left LA Valiant a couple of weeks, about a month ago, I feel like now. And we now have an idea of where he has gone. He has joined the team Metabellum, who has done pretty successfully in playoffs for Korean contenders. I think they made it to quarterfinals, or no, they got eliminated in semifinals.
Yeah, they were one of the upsets, right?
I believe.
Yeah. And then another player move, Moopy, has been released or at least allowed to pursue offers from other teams from the Mayhem Academy. So he is currently looking for a contenders team. It's kind of crazy to see that they're already starting to shuffle people around, but if you think about it, we're 3 weeks done with Open Division, which means we've got 2 weeks of regular season play left, a week and a half, 2 weeks of playoffs, and then we're right back into contenders trials. So trials are just a matter of probably like a month and a half away. So these teams are going to start flipping rosters and players around to try to get ready for trials and get back into contenders.
Yeah, especially the teams that did not make it very far. I'm trying to look it up now on where. I don't even think. Mayhem Academy got eliminated in quarterfinals. They didn't even make it to semis. So that, like, specifically the teams that are pretty much like done. like Grizzlies, LNL, Simplicity bye week, I assume that those teams, if they're not completely disbanding, are going to have some major reshuffles. And we already saw that with Grizzlies in the past. So it's to be expected that the lower tier teams are going to have some reshuffling to try to find the right mix of people.
Yep.
But that'll bring us into a bit of news that's got the Blackwatch report bump. Is Arrow, the head coach of Fusion University, has been offered a position that has pulled him away from the organization. So he's no longer with Fusion University. And when you are not teaching one of the, or not, when you are not coaching one of the 4 best teams in contenders, where else are you going to possibly go? Well, maybe OWL. So I'm assuming that if we don't have some big announcement out of Boston, that's a solid bet. They could also pull him straight up into, although they already have plenty of coaches on the main Philly roster as it is. So I would assume that there are some gaps for him to fill in. Maybe not necessarily head coach, maybe just assistant coach, but I think he definitely is head coach for OWL material. And of course, any team that he plays for now gets a special bump from us because he was the first guest on our show and gets a lot of respect for that. So big ups to him. Hopefully he gets something really solid out of this.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations. I mean, we don't know if it's official, but we're pretty sure that he got an offer taking him to OW. And now a little more coach news. This one we know for sure happened. 9K, the former head coach of NRG Esports, got the call up to the big leagues. He's going to Overwatch League to be an assistant coach for his parent team, sister team, the San Francisco
team,
parent team, the San Francisco Shock. So that's 2 coaches out of the tier 2 scene that are, making moves in the right direction. And then that is the last of our news for tonight. So we're going to go right down into the quick play. And the quick play this week is covering the show match. So we had X6 Gaming versus Fusion University. X6 Gaming did take this, so they handed Fusion University their second loss since Fusion University has been announced. I will preface that with the majority of Fusion University was playing on 200 plus ping because they played on Korean servers. So Kyle, what kind of analysis did you pull from this matchup?
So it started out looking super duper one-sided. I was just like based on the first map and a half, I'm like, oh my goodness God, is X6 that overrated? Is FU that great? No, they're not. It's actually kind of, FU's incredible. But X6 is also really, really good. So it started out on Li Zhang. Fusion University X6 took Night Market 100 to 65, and then Fusion took Gardens and Control Center 189 and 100 to 37. They both looked really, really solid. And specifically, one of my favorite strats is they ran Doomfist McCree, I think, on a couple of different places. I think Night Market definitely. And then when X6 was running your Reaper Reinhardt, running a Reinhardt into a Doomfist and McCree is hard to do because you just get stunned over the shield and charged into a wall. So it was a really good strategy from them. But then going over to Hollywood, we see almost a full hold from Fusion University, and that was kind of on the shoulders of who are you on old Hanzo, not new Hanzo, not Storm Arrow, 6-shot, burst shot, whatever, or 5 shots, whatever. Who are you on the old Hanzo with Scatter Arrow and the slower projectile speed was absolutely decimating X6 on their Hollywood defense. And it was only until the very last minute was X6 able to cap out. And then they kind of just steamrolled and got almost to the end and then flipped the sides. Fusion University doesn't get quite as far, and that's a 2-2, but going to X6. Meanwhile, then we get to Anubis. It's a 1-0. It's a full hold, which is always, kind of rough to see, but it is what it is. And then Rialto was a 2-0 as well. This was the first time in any sort of competitive capacity that we have seen Rialto, to my knowledge. And it's interesting. It's also, to add on that, it's also the first time in any sort of competitive capacity, I guess above Open Division, but I don't watch Open Division as much as I wish I could. But we got to see Brigida, which was always interesting to see, specifically like how she's impacting the new meta. And I'll go into that once I go through my team notes real quick, because I had to split it in half because there's like 2 different patches being played here. One of the other thing is that Beast Halo has been stepping up with Primal Rages and getting really good damage and getting kills with that, which is always really good to see. They ran a Bastion on Control Center, which kept getting hacked, but they still like were able to LOS the Sombra and make it work, and that's how they got Control Center. And they also ran a double sniper attack on Anubis, which didn't really do anything because he was on that Hanzo. I guess he was like feeling the Hanzo, like, guys, I'm on it. I'm on this today. Kept running that, but it didn't do too much, unfortunately, because they were really good at zoning. X6 was really good at zoning them out. On the other side of X6, Godsby was like off, and then he was on. He was running, I think, a bit of Reaper, running some McCree, and just doing nothing on the first couple of maps. And then he suddenly went Widow as soon as they capped out Hollywood, and I don't think he really left Widow except when they switched up their team comps. And he was just annihilating all of Fusion on that. So it's partially due to him just being nutty on Widow, but also one of the things I noticed on Hollywood second, they were doing these things where Godspeed was kind of baiting the dive from Fusion University into them. And then as soon as the dive comes in, X6 kind of peels around, and then they all kind of counter dive on Fusion and then just destroy anyone who tried to kill Godspeed's Widow. So, one of the funniest things, though, is that on Hollywood, X6 was gonna, so they almost got full held on Hollywood, and then on their defense, they like rushed out the gate as soon as Fusion comes into the gate, jump on them, kill Beast Halo, which, okay, kind of sucks, but whatever. They're running a Mercy, you can just res them. And then they lost Roki, Beast Halo got rezzed, so now it's a 5v6 in favor of the attackers. Kill everyone, game over. Like, that's the whole first point. They kind of just threw it away because they got way over aggro, and Fusion punished them for it. But they were still able to pick up the win, was X6. So now where Brigida comes into the whole play, specifically on Rialto in this situation, X6 brought out BQB, who's been running mostly Sombra for X6, and brought in someone named Glister, who I've never seen before. And then Glister was the person who played Brigida. Rhea, who was their diva player, went to Zarya, and Godsby played Hanzo. Don't necessarily know if this is the set meta, but this is what both teams pretty much played. So maybe this is, at least for the first, week, gonna be what is really, really good. Same thing on the other side. You did see a Zarya, a Brigida, and a Hanzo. Krakenlaken played the Brig, Zachary played the Zarya, and Who Are You played the Hanzo. And basically it came down to good old-fashioned, I think it was second stage. Yeah, it was second stage Overwatch League on King's Row strategies. So you run Zarya, you run Hanzo, you go for the Dragon and the Graviton, and whoever does it better wins the team fights. And specifically, one of the things why Fusion lost this map is because their economy on Transcendences were pretty bad. Every time that they had a combo onto X6, X6 just hit Q and then didn't die because they had Transcendence. Meanwhile, Alarm was using it kind of not in those particular instances, and they were just getting wrecked when they did get Graviton. So there's a lot of new strategy, a lot of new ways to play, and ways to utilize your ultimates as well. When you're running a Zarya all the time, when you're running a Brigida all the time, when you're running a Hanzo all the time, you have to completely change the way that you're thinking about the game, coming from a year of dive. But yeah, those are my notes for the whole match.
Oh yeah. And just a couple quick things. Hey, was I not coming across for you?
No, not at all.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. Couple just quick things. In the garden on Lijiang Tower, we saw Who Are You. He whiffed a couple of his blades again. He's having a little bit of issue towards the beginning of his matches. with actually landing quality Dragon Blades. We've seen it in a couple of the matches, and his blades produce more later on almost every single game. It's actually kind of weird to watch. You would figure with the skill that he has that it would just, he wouldn't need that warm up, but it's almost like he needs a warm up with his Dragon Blades. Let's see what else. Oh, Zachary on Hollywood. He was playing Junkrat. He mines up on the it's point A, mines up to the back of the building that's off to the right hand side, not the cafe. And there's just a little ledge that is a like an air conditioning unit. And he just stands on this little itty bitty ledge, and he pops Riptire and takes Riptire up over top of the building, right into Rhea the Mercy for X6, and just deletes her right off of the map. And it's like, you couldn't have done it any more perfect, because they were running the pharmacy at that time. And as soon as Rhea died, the Pharah got out of there.
You're thinking Roki, not Rhea. Rhea's the diva. Roki,
Oh yeah,
I think
Roki. Yeah. I got all these R's written down backwards. But yeah, Kyle brought up the Gravitons. It's fun watching a new tank setup and not seeing all dive all the time. The amount of Gravitons we saw was great to watch. X6 was able to completely shut down. Man, it was so many Gravitons that they just, Fusion University would land a Graviton that would literally get like everyone, but then they would get no kills from them, which was a little disappointing. I'm gonna blame it on ping, because I'm a Fusion guy, so that's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
Let's see what else. Oh yeah, just tons of gravity dragons all over the place. That's what I'm gonna call it from now on, gravity dragon. Let's make that happen, people. Let's see. Temple of Anubis. For X6, their attack, it was insanely quick. Like, it was another one of those quick ones. It was actually kind of disappointing to watch Fusion University literally not be able to do anything on attack on that one.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Kyle covered everything. Watching the new meta evolve in this show match, or what we could see it evolve into, it's really exciting. I know a lot of people don't like Deathball, they don't like the tank meta, but and it's just so much more engaging to watch than everybody dive in and delete one person and then kind of move around the circle. This is just all out brawls. Like, bump your Reinhardt shield up to their Reinhardt shield, drop it, and just throw hands. That's the way it feels. Like, this is old school street fight type stuff. But the other show match, me and Kyle both did not get a chance to fully watch, so we don't have a in-depth analysis on this, was O2 Ardent versus Lucky Future Zenith. And I mean, considering O2 is in the finals for the Korean contenders, they got 4-0'd by Lucky Future, which, I mean, might be a little shocking. And considering Lucky Future is a Chinese team and we have a Shanghai Dragons that really doing anything, why is there such good quality Chinese players that aren't in Overwatch League?
I gotta look this up, but I feel like it could be one of those. Oh yeah, it is exactly. Okay. Do you know how when you go onto Liquipedia and you you hover over each team, you can kind of see like, okay, these are all Chinese players. The regular Lucky Future team, all Chinese players. Every other team except for Legend Young they have some Koreans. And then you go to Lucky Future Zenith. I'm like, okay, DM, IDK, Lucid, So What, Erster. Like, oh, I remember all of these names. Oh, they're a bunch of really good Korean players. playing in the Chinese league. So
Oh, we got debated.
yes, I think we did. I think that most of these players were also like pretty big names. Like DM, he was on
Yep.
Mighty AOD before, and Ardent. Freaking IDK was on Lunatic High and A Freak of Freaks before that, and Lucid same with Kong Doonsi and A Freak of Freaks. So like
And so
that
what
team is
was in
stacked with some names.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah, and
so
so
what
what
was
was
talked about being
down.
signed by like 2 or 3 different Overwatch League teams at one point
Right.
in time. So yeah, that's definitely
So.
not a team to shun against, but man, I was really hoping that it was a Chinese team. Not gonna lie.
No, yeah, I was too.
Just to, kind of shy away from our Korean overlords in esports. But that's going to end our quick play discussion, and we're going to go down into our main discussion, which is actually going to be just a really quick rundown because we are going into week 4 of the Open Division. So we're starting to see a split from the top of the leaderboard down. Finally, it takes a while. So I'm going to read off the top 24 teams. All 24 of these teams are currently 6-0. They are the only teams that are perfect right now. And they go in order based on their OMW, which we talked about in the news. So at number 1, we have Monarchs with a 75%, Baltic Esports with a 69.44%, Armor.gg, Aya Esports with a 66.67%. Mirage Esport Electronic is tied with Armor, along with Shadowburn only, all at 66.67%. Then we have Flow. Flow is in 6th with 61.06%, and Flow was formerly oh man.
Don't ask me, I have no idea.
Now I've completely lost who Flow was. They've got a ton of big name players over there on Flow. I'll find that and relay that here shortly. About a Pop, Mythic Gaming, Alien 51, our boys No Clout.
Oh, Flow is Aether's team.
Oh yeah,
with
Aether.
Mitsu and Icy. Okay, and Cozy.
Yep, that is
Okay.
the team that Aether, after leaving Simplicity, went to, or not Simplicity, Grizzlies.
Bye week. Grizzlies?
Bye week?
Bye week. I thought it was bye week. What do I know?
Oh yeah, it was bye week because he left like the 3rd week of them not having any wins. And he was clearly the best player on the team.
Yes.
But we've got About a Pop, Mythic Gaming, Alien 51, No Clout, Black Eyes, all tied for 7th at 58.28%. Omni Gaming, TGC, Team Big Brain, Gazuku, Hive Orange, and Eminent all tied for 12th with 55.5% on their map win rate. Awakened Militia, Goats, Mystery Gang, and Karasuna all tied for 18th at 52.67. Now there's a name in there that you might not recognize. Well, you might not recognize many of them. But Goats. Goats is formerly Fractal. They are undefeated, but they're sub 60% on their map win rate percentage. So that's telling us that while they do have a perfect record, they're playing slightly weaker teams who have lost more to other weaker teams also. So moving down to 22nd place, we have Second Win with a 50% OMW, and then later Homo Sapiens with a 44.33%. Now this is going to start to clean up as this next week comes on because they play 2 maps every week. So we'll see another split after this week, which will then start to kind of give us our playoff picture on where everybody's going. Now, all the teams that are currently 5-1 very well could jump up over some of these teams that take their first loss, because there's teams in 5-1 that have like mid 60s to low 70% OMWs. They just played harder teams. So as soon as some of these lower teams or the lower OMW teams take losses, we'll see some of the teams that have already lost, get back in that picture. That's what makes the open division kind of exciting. Is once you get into weeks like 3, 4, and the beginning of 5, the top of the ladder changes so drastically and so quickly because one win can take someone from 24th to 3rd, and one loss can take somebody from 4th all the way down to like 50 in some cases. I've seen it happen both ways in previous seasons. So if you're not paying attention to the open division, swing by Battlefy, find the open division link. Just take a look at the teams. There's a ton of teams, and there's some really good talent over there. It's just trying to, get people to pay attention.
And looking at this, like it now makes so much more sense why OMW percentage is like brought in, because it just makes like it kind of cleans up everything where it used to just be like kind of chaotic and based on like map wins and stuff like that. Now you have a very like you can definitively tell, okay, this team has beaten all of the really good teams, so they are better than every other team. This other team has the same amount of wins, but against crap teams, they are not as good as the team that played a bunch of good teams. So like it just makes everything very clear. And seeing that Monarchs has a 75% means they have played against really, really strong opponents. Whereas Goats has the same amount of wins, but only has 52. So like it helps visually discern between each like placing, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, when you have like what was it, 600 teams or something like that? Or no, it was like 1,200 teams. I think we started.
I can't hear you again.
I think it was like 600 teams or something like that. Started where what am I trying to say? There's so many teams that it's easy for a weaker team to go 6-0 in the first 3 weeks because their chance of playing a ton of other weak teams are there because there's so many teams. And this right here, the way the OMW works is it places those teams that while they are 6-0, they're lower down on the ranking because they clearly haven't played, a Monarchs or a Voltic Esports who are beating the other teams like Atmosphere. Atmosphere is the former Savages. They got picked up by another organization. Up until this week, they were 4-0. They went into their first matchup, took that. They were 5-0. And then their final match, I don't have it in front of me. I'm not sure who it was that actually gave them their first loss, but, handed them their first loss. If you look at the OMW for Atmosphere, it's going to place them when any of these teams take a loss, they're going to drop down below Atmosphere in an instant, and Atmosphere will jump right back up into playoff contention. Simply because they've played harder opponents. It is way better than the previous way. The previous way was way, way different. Actually, in one of my open division quick plays, my previous show, I did a whole read through on how the tiebreakers worked, and it was disgustingly convoluted. I had to get like confirmations like 3 or 4 times to make sure I was getting the right information. It was a pain. But that's enough of the open division. We're going to take it down into the speculation station. That's where we're going to talk about who we think Team USA is going to be. And then we'll get into our community intel, which is a little bit more about the Overwatch World Cup. So Kyle, why don't you give us your Team USA World Cup team?
Cool. So mine is half of the previous team with a new half. Old half, actually no, it's only a third of the old team. Yep. Raucus and Adam, the support line will stay consistent. I think that Raucus, although definitely not the best Zen in Overwatch League, is probably the best Zen in America, I think, in USA. I think they're there's a couple of slightly better options, but or not slightly better, but like debatable options. But I think that like consistently he's a little bit above the rest. Adam, of course, is one of the better Lucios and also really good Mercy as well, which is important nowadays. Support line I changed up a little bit, not bringing on Fact, instead I'm bringing on Muma. I think that he's probably just going to do a little bit better for this team because he doesn't die as much and doesn't give as much pressure on the support to go around him and support him. And then I brought in Space because although Coolmat is like one of the best divas in the league, Roadhog is a thing, and Space is really good at Roadhog. So I kind of brought him on that because first off, he's a phenomenal kind of presence on a team. He seems like a really stand-up individual, despite only being 18. He seems incredibly mature. And I think that the slightly deeper hero pool is going to give him that edge. I also brought in some contenders boys, Nero and Dalton, the best underage DPS duo that exists in contenders right now. I want to see them on a big stage. I want to see them against a bunch of other players. Yes, you could bring in American DPS. You could bring in Sinatra. You could bring in Jake. You could bring in whoever else. But that I don't think that's necessarily what the World Cup is about anymore. I think the last World Cup was like, I'm really good. Please sign me for your Overwatch League team. And now it can't be about, hey, look, I'm already really good and on this Overwatch League team. It should be the similar of that whole like, yo, pick us. We're really good, but we're not, in an Overwatch League team yet. Specifically Nero and Dalton's case, just because they're too young. But I think it'd be great to have their names kind of up in lights before they age in. So they'll have the Sinatra treatment of like, oh my God, Dalton and Nero are in. This team is now going to be incredible. But that's my pick.
I'm going to start off by agreeing with Kyle. I also have Nero and Dalton going in from my DPS line. Pretty much for all of the same reasons. It would be fantastic to see a mix-up of talent for the Overwatch World Cup. Not all of the best players are in OWL right now. As far as American players, because some of those spots got filled by other people from other countries in the Overwatch. So you do have guys that are in the contender scene, the path to pro scene, that are very well could be in on an OWL team, which is going to take me into my tanks. I also have Muma. I think Muma just plays smart. He plays clean. He's not super aggro, but he can control the monkey enough. He can control space with the monkey enough that I think he is the better pick here. Now my second tank, this is where I strayed away. I agree with Kyle that Coolmat is probably one of the best, if not the best, diva player in NA. But I gotta go with another contenders player. I want to see McGravy up there. McGravy is a solid off tank. I want to see him and Muma, pushing space and making room for that tag team of Nero and Dalton that should always stay together. And then for your supports, I also have Raucus, because I do think that he is probably the best NA Zen out there. He clicks head and he clicks heads good. But I changed up the I guess you'd call it the flex support, even though it's kind of like the main support. I want to see Elk. I want more contenders players in there. And this would give Team USA one very special trait that no other Overwatch World Cup team would have. They would have the best hair on their support line. You can't deny it. You can't deny it. Elk with his dyed hair and Raucus with that swoosh, clean. That's what I'm saying. You want good photos? You put Elk and Raucus together for the support line.
Next week, next week we're just gonna do best hair in Overwatch, and then just do teams with the best hair, and then put them all together.
Don't tempt me.
I
I'll do that as community intel. No, I won't. I was lying there. But speaking of community intel, that's going to take us down into community intel. The question for last week was contenders players with the best shot at making it into the Overwatch World Cup teams. Or is it going to be just Overwatch League teams for the main countries, US, Korea, Sweden, and Finland, etc. So, Kyle, why don't you grab the first one here from our buddy on the Discord, Mr. iCarrium.
So, iCarrium, who is one of our token UK listeners, specifically more on the High Noon podcast side, mentioned Christopher, who played on the previous World Cup team. And I don't know where he's at now, what team he's on. I don't remember seeing too much about him recently.
Yeah, I haven't
but
seen
I
him
think
on a
he's a
team.
solid main tank bet. But then Caesar brought up a different main tank.
Caesar actually brought up for the UK main tank Fusions, which we have seen him. He is on British Hurricane?
Yes.
So we know that he is a top tier tank and could very well represent the UK going into that.
Oh, and Christopher is on Mosaic, by the way, which is a big rip.
Is it? Oh man, that's sad.
Still on the active roster.
I mean, granted, now Mosaic is owned basically by the players. They just continue to use the name, and
right,
ownership isn't there. But yeah, that's just one big sad story there.
Anyways, moving on to NanoBoost's notes, who is our resident Korean expert for Contenders y stuff. Gave us some notes kind of early in our show on what the Korean scene is doing. He brought up a player that I am pretty keen on as well, Godspeed. I think that Godspeed is one of the better DPS. He's got a ton of versatility. I think that and I don't necessarily know how they're going to do this, whoever is on the committee for South Korea, they totally have the potential to just, stack it up with New York Excelsior players or whatever. And then they could absolutely probably just roll anyone. If you take all of Nixel, you can just destroy. But I feel like it's not in the right spirit. I feel like it's about finding new talent, showing off new talent, showing, kind of underground players. And I think that if you bring Godspeed into the limelight, he can do really, really solid things. NanoBoost also brought up Davin and RCK for Finland. Davin is like the sole Giganti second season player now. Played both seasons with the previous Giganti roster that's now all in OWL. And then CIS Hope minus unfixed, adding Shadowburn probably is going to be the Russian team. Crimzo onto Canada. We've heard that Crimzo is really good. We've seen that he's really good. I can't remember exactly who Canada's previous flex support was. Rolf.
Yep.
I think Crimzo and Rolf are very evenly matched, and I think that this is going to be like either one of them. They both deserve it, but that'd be interesting to see. And then NanoBoost also brought up Dredro on Team France, who I don't know too much about, but I think that'd be an interesting pickup as well.
And then the Monkey Prince just gave us one, and he wants to see Tonic on Team Russia. I'm not too sure who Tonic is, but yeah, that was Monkey Prince's choices. Tonic for Team Russia. And then we're gonna go into kind of our random picks. Kyle, take yours away.
Cool. So for Team UK, I'm not going to definitively say this is what it's going to be, but like if I was making the team, this is what I would do. I'd take Fusions on main tank, Smex on off tank. Both have looked incredibly solid. I'll take Mikey A on the Tracer any day. Kib on the more flexible role. Unfortunately, that means I don't have a Widowmaker in case Widowmaker is still like a must pick, but I don't know where the meta is going to go in November. And then Cruz and Boombox. So Boombox is the only OWL player that I think there's no other really great contenders fill in here for UK. And then Canada, I've got Crimzo and Keller, who I both think are incredible. And then as well, adding on Note, Joe Meister, Surefour, and XQC as the other group. Sweden, I think, should be whatever the best Sweden players are, plus Sharp. I think Sharp needs a time to shine here. Dude is nuts, and I think he needs to be the Tracer player. France, I'm going to assume, is former Rogue without Nico and with Poco. So that means Nox, who is on Eagle Gaming, will be on France. And then Denmark needs to basically just be Singularity. And then for Spain, I think they need to, amongst the 9 Lucio players that they have, pick up Poppy Fresh as well, who I think was the Tracer player and really solid.
And then for mine, me and Kyle have quite a few of the same things. Wanting to see a lot of contenders players get picked up. I don't want to see it just be all OWL players. It obviously can't in some situations. But really my only change from Kyle's on the UK is I would like to see Numlocked over Fusions for the tank spot. Canada, I also have Crimzo Keller. Sure, for XQC, you can't have Team Canada without XQC. I mean, T-Mobile MVP. Come on, do it. But I switched up the other support and I threw Rolf back in there. And then Note, obviously, as their other tank. You have to go with Sharp for Sweden because he was just insane in contenders. And I do believe we will get Snillo over in there also. Team France is going to just be Eagle Gaming. That's what I think. They're just going to pick up Eagle Gaming. If you look at Eagle Gaming, they've got like 9 people. I think the World Cup teams can have 7, I think. So you pick up all of Eagle Gaming but 2, and then you just go with whatever the best spots are, basically. Denmark, Kyle said Singularity. Obviously, all of their top talent in Denmark is basically on Singularity. But bring in Shax. Let's get Shax on there also. And then Spain, you got Poppy Fresh. We've seen him play in contenders, and he looks fantastic. Again, these obviously, like, we don't know. These are just who we would like to see. But man, just a lot of contenders players. Like I would like to see the majority of the Overwatch World Cup teams filled with contenders players out of those areas. I mean, the Brazilian Overwatch World Cup team is they got signed. They used to be Karma. I want to say they're Osiris now. They got picked up by an organization, and they're down in Open Division. So we very well could see even people coming up from Open Division and going on to World Cup teams. I think that would be phenomenal, guys. But with that, we have no community intel question for this week. I was trying my hardest to get all of the jerseys for the NA playoff teams. I have 3 of them. We've seen Toronto, we've seen Fusion University, and we've seen Envision. Optic Gaming has like 12 different jerseys that all of their players wear, so I don't know exactly which one they're going to wear. I was going to ask everybody who has the best jersey, but Optic hasn't gotten back to me with the exact jersey. As soon as I get that, I will throw up a Twitter poll and see if we can decide who the champion of jerseys are, between now and the but with that, we are always looking for Twitch followers. We got a huge influx of Twitch followers this past week, which is great. We're getting ever so closer to that affiliate position, which would just help out the show a ton. We'll get the sub button and all the fancy emotes and all that good stuff. And as always, we need iTunes reviews. It helps give the show a little more visibility. When people search for Overwatch, it moves us up the list. Always need those. So if anybody could just swing by iTunes, throw up a quick review, 1 star, 2 star, I'm fine with all of them. Just tell us what we're doing wrong, what you guys like, and we will do whatever we can to fix that or change it, however it might. Kyle, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Kyle the Winner. Winner spelled Winner, like my last name, because I think I'm clever. What about you, Thornrain?
I am at Thornrain on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Thornrain, but I do all of my streaming right now over at the Blackwatch Report Twitch channel right now. Now you can find the show on Twitter at Blackwatch Report, no O in report. You can email the show blackwatchreport@gmail.com. You can find the very small amount of YouTube videos that we currently have up on YouTube. Just search for Blackwatch Report. We don't have our cool link yet. You can follow the show on Twitch, twitch.tv/Blackwatch Report. We record live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Our intro music is the main theme for Overwatch, covered by none other than our very own Kyle Wynn. This has been a High Noon production. You can find all of our shows at highnoonpodcast.com, and you can come and chat with all of the hosts over at discord.me/highnoonpodcast. And we do have, another announcement. Got to put it in at the top of the show. High Noon Productions is happy to bring in another new show. Taco from the Overwatch Score is going to be doing a show under the High Noon Podcast brand. Oh man, I just had the name.
Owl Things Considered.
Owl Things Considered, yes. Owl Things Considered. That will be released on Tuesdays. I've got to find out if it is going to be a live show. I think it's audio only. But start looking for that on your feeds. It will go through the High Noon Podcast feed to get everybody introduced to it, and then it will go to its own feed. But you will be able to talk to all of us, me, Kyle, Taco, Evans, Deathblow, A. Smith. We are all over there. Just stop by the Discord again, discord.me/High Noon Podcast. And one final time, we're going to do the sellout. If your energy just isn't working, go rogue. And with that, Blackwatch.